I'm Kevin America, and today we're going to learn a new verb tense. Today we're going to learn the past perfect verb tense. It's pretty interesting. So we've got a past perfect. And if you'll remember from the present perfect lesson that we did, to make a perfect tense, we have to have two things. We have to have. We must have. We have to have. Have plus verb 3. Okay, verb 3. Let's try to remember, what is verb 3? Well, every verb in English can be expressed 3 ways. Today I fly, yesterday I flew, and I have flown. That's verb 3. Have flown. What else do we have? Today I walk, yesterday I walked, and I have walked. Today I drive, and yesterday I drove, and I have driven. Driven. Okay, so here we've got our verb 3, okay? I have flown, I have walked, I have driven, I have eaten, I have slept. That's the third way to use the verb. So this is how you make a perfect. But wait a minute, we're talking about a past perfect here. So let's change have to what? Today I have, yesterday I had. Perfect. So instead of I have driven, it's going to be I had flown, I had walked, I had driven. That's the past perfect. Okay. So now let's talk about how do we use the past perfect. Let's explore. How do we use the past perfect? Well, we're going to start with a timeline. Okay, remember our timeline. This is now. And here is the past, and we're going into the future. So let's think of the past perfect as the past in the past. Okay? So we're going to call this a completed event before a past event. Okay, now let's see what I mean by that. What do I mean by a completed event before a past event? Well, let's start with the past event. Here's now. Let's go into the past a little bit and make an X. That's our past event. I walked. Yesterday I ate. We slept. Okay? Now let's go before that past event and make a perfect. So there it is. Boom, shakalaka. Here we go. So something happened before that past event. It's some kind of completed event. It's already done. And in fact, it was finished by the time we get there. So let's start with by the time to make some examples. Okay? Okay. So here we've got a couple of examples. Okay? By the time I arrived, see the blue X? That's when I arrived at college. By the time I arrived at college, I had written many papers. So by the time I arrived at college, I had written many papers. That's how we use it. What happened before that time in the past? Let's look at another example. Before she tried pizza, she had eaten many foods. This is her trying pizza. And before that, she had eaten many foods. You see, past in the past. Now let's look at use number 2. Use number 2 is basically the same thing. However, we can talk about a duration. So let's call it that. This is a duration. Duration before, that's a B, before a past event. Okay? So a duration before a past event. Let's use our timeline. to figure out when we're going to use this. Here's now. There we are. Hi. This is the past, and we go into the future. Okay? So let's begin with the past event. Okay? Let's actually underline this. Past event. Past event is the blue. So let's go into the past. Right? Maybe it was 5 minutes ago. Maybe it was 5 years ago. But there we are. That's our past event. Now let's talk about something that happened before that past event. And specifically, let's talk about how long that took. How much time that duration was. So it starts here and it goes until that past event. That's what we're doing. So by the time I arrived, I had written. So let's make an example or two here. Let's explore how do we use this. So let's look at some examples. They had driven the car for 3 years before they sold it. So let's look. They sold it here, but before they sold it, they had driven the car for 3 years. So this duration is 3 years. And then whenever they sold it, maybe 5 minutes ago, maybe 10 years ago, but they sold it. Okay, let's look at another example. The airplane broke after it had flown a long time. Okay, so here it is. Here's the airplane flying a long time in the past. It had flown a long time. But then after it had flown a long time, it broke. That's one single event there. Excellent. So let's review. The past perfect, we have to use had, verb 3, had driven, had flown, had written, had eaten. And we could use use number 1, the completed event before a past event. Here's the past event, and there was even a past event before that, right? So by the time I arrived at college, I had written many papers. Or before she tried pizza, she had eaten many foods. And then, of course, we can talk about the duration of that thing. So the duration before the past event. They had driven the car for 3 years before they sold it. Or the airplane broke after it had flown a long time. That's the past perfect. I'm Kevin America. Thank you for having a great lesson with me.